Today we're talking about how to use Google Drive to help your students collaborate within a classroom environment. As you'll see, basically Google Drive allows as many users as you want to share this with and give access to it to all be working on that same document. They see each other's changes immediately, and so it's a great way of allowing them to basically in real time collaborate, whether that be proofreading, whether that be a group project where some members are working on one part of the document and some are on another. It's sometimes just a great way to kind of liven up your classroom so that you can project this document and people from your class can actually essentially write on the board from their seat using their phone. It just kind of, it's the same idea as writing with chalk or writing with a dry erase board, but it just makes it feel a little bit more lively, and it kind of helps engage those kids because they can watch themselves type and they feel more of an ownership. So all of this is going to be done through Google Drive. Just like all Google products, you have to have a Gmail account or have registered your account. It could be any other email account. Register it with Google so that you can go to Google Calendar, Google Drive, all those things. So if you haven't, start at Google. Of course, you can see here I've logged in. If you hadn't logged in, if you didn't have a Gmail, up here it's going to have login, and when you go to that, it's going to give you an opportunity to create an account. So you would just create an account. And then you're going to go to drive.google.com. And Google Drive is what's called a cloud storage area. If you're not familiar with the term cloud, it's basically an off-site hard drive where you can store things, and because it's done over the internet, then you can share it with people very easily. It just sends them an invitation, or you can have it set up so that they can actually already have access to it. And of course, you can access it from other computers. So if you do switch, it's kind of all that. And that's what allows the kids to be able to do this collaboration. Because it's on the cloud, it comes over the internet. As long as they have an internet connection, then they're going to be able to use their phones, tablets, laptops, whatever, desktops, anything, and log in to that same file. You just have to give them permission to access it. So Google Drive offers a variety of different tools. It's very similar to the Microsoft Office suite. So if we come to new, you're going to see that we can do, of course, you can do folders within here. You can upload files that are pre-existing. You can upload folders. Google Docs is very similar to Word. It's a Word document. You can type in it. Google Sheets is similar to Excel. So it's a spreadsheet, and you can put in formulas and do all the things you would do with Excel. Google Slides is analogous to a PowerPoint presentation. So if you ever have a PowerPoint presentation, especially if you're given that for kids to present a PowerPoint, a lot of times I like to offer this for the kids who they may not have PowerPoint at home, or might not have easy access. They can, it's hard, but they can even do this from their phone. They can make that essentially a PowerPoint presentation, share it with you as a teacher, and you can present it when it's their group's time to go. If you come under more, this gets to be some of the more advanced options that are not as commonly used. Google Forms, there's some good videos out there. If you look at the teacher resource page on the Germantown High School website, we have a couple of YouTube videos I've collected from other authors on Google Forms, but it's basically you can make surveys, you can even do self-check quizzes with Google Forms. Google Drawings, of course, it's like a Microsoft Paint. My Maps, so you could pin things from Maps, and Google Sites is for creating websites. But the most common are going to be Docs, Sheets, and Slides. We're going to create a document today. So if you were going to have your kids collaborate, there's really two things that needs to happen. For one, of course, they need to have access. So for the kids to physically open in a Google document, a Google spreadsheet, or something from Google Drive, on their phones, if that's what they're using, that's the most common. They're going to need to have the Google Drive app. And if you look, it's this symbol up here. It's going to show up on either Apple or Android app markets. It's a free from Google, so they should be able to tell. Of course, from this symbol, it's going to say the publisher is Google, so they know it's reputable, it's free. They should see, it has a couple million downloads, so that's how they'll know it's trusted, it's free. And then they're going to need to have, if it's Google Docs, then there's a Google Doc app. If it's Google Sheets, there's a Google Sheets app. And again, it's going to have the publisher is Google. You're going to see a ridiculously high number of downloads, and so you'll know it's going to be trusted, and you're also going to know that it's free. So if it's not free, then you're not the right one. Both of them will be free. So they'll need to have the Drive app regardless, and then if you're going to have them edit a document, they need to have that Google Docs. So just a day or two in advance, I usually let them know, go ahead and download that, have that on your phone. Make sure you have enough space. We're going to be using our phones in class, so make sure that you bring them and you're prepared. And then the other side is to give them access in the sense of sharing this document with them. So if we were to, for instance, maybe we're going to do an English class and we want them to proofread. So I'm going to just kind of put in a couple of sentences that they could proofread. All right, so I've put some just sample correction sentences off the top of my head, some dealing with MLA or whatever. So you could, for instance, a lot of times I would have kids into groups, and obviously they have more than 3 sentences here. But group 1 would handle sentence 1, group 2 is going to handle sentence 2, group 3 is going to handle sentence 3. Of course, I'm going to show you an example of how this collaboration would look so that you can kind of know, but just there's infinite number of ways that you could actually have the students collaborating. It could be that they write an essay and they have to do it in Google Docs and they share it with a partner who has to go in and make edits. But first, let me show you how they'll do that, and then I'll kind of get your brain. I'll show you how one of these works and get your brain moving in the direction of various things you can do with it, because there's too many to just sit here and name them all. So, of course, the first thing we need to do is go ahead and name this document. So this will be error correction practice. All right, so that's going to help your kids find it. And then you're going to go to share. Right now, this is private, only you can get to it. Now, there's 2 ways of sharing. I'll go over the pluses and minuses of both. So the first way is a completely public sharing. You're going to click Get Shareable Link, and that's going to make it so that anybody with this link, which is a little bit long, I'll show you how to shorten it in a second, but anybody with the link can view, or we can change this so anyone with the link can edit. So make sure if you're going to have your kids working this way, you change that to edit. The downside of this is that when your kids are in there working, there's no way to know who's working on what, because you're just going to send out this link or put it on their board or whatever, and everyone will be assigned kind of like an avatar, a fake name. It'll be like Squirrel 23 and Elephant 42, and you have no idea who these people are. The kids don't choose them. It's just randomly assigned so that you can watch and kind of have some way of referring to who did what, but there's no way to link that back to a child. So if you are struggling with the second way we go over, where you directly share this with kids, if you have kids that you feel like you can trust, if you want to take that risk, then that is going to be up to you. But just, of course, be aware that if somebody writes something vulgar or inappropriate or bullying or whatever, then there's really no way to bring it back to who it was. But that's the easiest way in terms of helping kids get on, because, of course, they don't have to sign in with a Google account. That adds a layer of complexity. Some of them don't have a Gmail, don't know their Gmail, whatever. You have to collect the Gmails, all that. So if you're going to do this, of course, copy the link. And then if you go, just a trick, goo.gl is a URL shortener. You're going to click and put your link in here, as long as it may be. You hit shorten URL, and it will give you a very short, it is case-sensitive URL. So you could put this easily enough onto your board, and people could easily just type it in. It doesn't have to have all the thousands of characters or whatever the other one had. So that's one option. The other option is going to be to specifically share this with specific students. So in advance, you would need to collect a Gmail compatible email from all of your students. When I say Gmail compatible, it's one that they can use to sign into Google Calendar or sign into Google Drive. It doesn't have to be a Gmail, but it has to have been registered with Google so that they can use all the Google products from that email. If you're going to do that, I would suggest you start prepping for that lesson by a week in advance, or if you know that you're going to be doing this down the road, go ahead and get on that now so you can collect all that information from students, and then you can go ahead and have them in, say, a spreadsheet or a Word document, someplace you can easily access and add them. And of course, then that would be the time to go ahead and work through any problems regarding how, a kid doesn't have an email address there, whatever. You just got to get that set up. So when you have those, you're going to come down here to people, and you're going to put in those email addresses. So I'll share it with one of my other accounts, and of course you're going to put in all of your kids. So a lot of times what I'll end up doing is I'll make copies. If you go back to Google Drive, you can right click and duplicate, make a copy. So if I have 6 classes I'm going to do the same practice with, if I have one prep 6 times, then I'll make 6 different versions, and I'll maybe change the name of one of them to be, error correction practice period 1, error correction practice period 2. So you share it only with your period 1, you share it only with period 2, and that way you don't have to go in and try to fix or break, all the sentences after they've been corrected. You don't have to go back and get them back to their error format, and you just leave them as they are and move on. So you're going to share this with your students and then hit send. So now they have access. And you're not going to see this because I'm actually pulling out my phone and going to it just like your kids would do. But in their phone, from the Google Drive app, they're going to be able to go under, sorry, I'm pulling my phone out. In their phone, under the Google Drive app, they simply go to shared with me. They could also, they're going to get an email, so they could also go to their email, and there's going to be a link in that email that's just going to say that error correction practice was shared with you. They could click that link. So either one, if they have a lot of things they use Google Drive frequently, they may want to use the email. So they're going to pull that up on their phone, and from their phone, assuming they have both the apps we discussed earlier, you just saw that S pop up, that's because I attached with my phone, they can make their changes. And you can make your changes. So if I were to, for instance, go in and see the error on number 1 is it should be my friends and I. So on my phone, I am currently typing the word I, as you just saw. You can have as many kids as you share this with, all doing the same thing. So one exciting thing that kind of gets kids attached to using this Google Drive within the classroom is I'll project this up, and if I know who's doing what, because I shared it with them, so I don't have to worry about somebody writing something inappropriate and me not knowing who it was, and if they do, I know who it is, and we can deal with it. Same as if they shouted out something inappropriate. So they can actually watch each other typing, and group 1 can look up and they're going to see group 2 typing away on the screen. They're seeing the changes they make. So another great way of using this when you project it up there is that everyone can have their phones out, and if you have a class discussion, let's say that we get down to number 3, we're going over these answers, and it says that this is an example of the logical fallacy begging the question, which you as the teacher know to be incorrect. You're going to be looking and saying, okay, well, let's have a discussion, right? For all of these, I need somebody to say, why did you say that it was begging the question? If you disagree, I want you to raise your hand from another group, and we're going to talk about this, and we're going to get the consensus. So let's say 3 says it was begging the question, and it's wrong, so they give some wrong reasons why that would be true. And group 2 steps in and says, well, no, I think that this is ad hominem, because if you look, they're saying that because this person's, parents are not that great, then they must not have anything worthwhile to say. And group 1 adds in, well, yeah, because if you look at the notes we took here on Monday, then and they give a good reason, right? So now you have a consensus that this is not begging the question. Then you can kind of honor that kid who first raised their hand in dissent and say, okay, well, Jim, I want you to go in and I want you to correct it. And you can actually watch Jim, and the whole class can watch Jim type in ad hominem. And I'm really hoping I spelled this right. I may not have. Apologies if I didn't. But it's another good way of kind of getting those kids involved, because everyone watches them work, right? They get to feel like not only did I contribute something, not only was I able to stand up and actually be recognized as correct, but everyone gets to watch me kind of have that gloating walk as I add this in, and they get the cool way of doing it from their phone. So again, there's so many ways that you could use this and any other docs in concert, so I won't be able to go through all of them. But of course, things like, as I said, if somebody writes an essay and they have it in here, they could share it with a friend. They could share it with you, so that rather than having kids give you a file and you give them the file back, if you're working on a longer essay or a research paper, you could just make everyone do it in Google Docs, and then you can just pop right in. A good feature that will help you with that if let's say somebody put me and you feel like, okay, that's going to be wrong, go to comments. And I'm going to put in a comment that it should be I. Or if you want to give more detail, this is the subject. This is the subject. It takes a subject pronoun, right? So you could actually put in comments. If this is, of course, this is not the right way of doing MLA, so I'm going to put in a comment, check your MLA. Right. Another useful feature, and this has to be in the situation where you've actually shared this directly with the Google accounts, not just giving everyone a general link. But if you do have somebody that's putting in something inappropriate, or you want to see, okay, this kid had turned in a fairly good paper. I went to peer editing, and now it's just taken a turn for the worst. Who is it that suggested this change? We can always go back under, and you have to do this on a computer. You can't do this on your phone. To File, Version History, and see Version History. And it's going to tell you in detail the various changes that have been made, who made them. Right now you don't see a whole lot because it's all under my name, but you're going to see all those things. So you could go back and say, okay, well, it looks like this thing took a turn for the worst when Sally suggested taking out the thesis statement from the whole paper. And so we need to have a talk about this and let them know. And of course, then you kind of can also see, how is this discussion going, right? Has Sally been going in actually making comments? Because that's her partner, right? She should be making comments. Did it happen? And maybe your grade is based on that. So you see, I need to see 2 or 3 times that y'all have gone back and forth with your partner. And you can look at this version history. If that didn't happen, then and you can make whatever adjustment to the grade is appropriate. So that's a very useful thing. And of course, it also you can use, I'll drop down to this first one, and that's the first one from when this is not there. But you see the restore this version. So if we were to have a longer discussion, we've had 20, 30 changes. If one of them wasn't that good, or we see that this is the point where everything turned, or just somebody made a mistake. They were in here, they were making changes and comments, and they sneezed and deleted the whole thing. And then it saved, and they don't know what to do. Go into version history, go back to a previous version that looks like it's in decent shape. This is not a good example because this is the original whenever I had typed nothing, but you would have steps along the way every 15, 20 minutes, and you can just restore this version, and it will overwrite and give you back as it was at that point. So that's kind of some general overview. We'll have within the Germantown High School teacher resource page, we put some other Google Drive related videos up there that have some really good tips, and they get a little bit more advanced. But I wanted to just kind of give you an overview of exactly how do you use this, and kind of what would be the basics. You can get, kind of master the basics, and we can get you more advanced from there.